And welcome to another episode of the 6 Go podcast. My name's Tom Campbell. Great to have your company. Joining me is Damien Seabolt. Siebes, one of the closer rounds we've had in a long time in the NRL. The biggest margin was the Broncos winning by 14 points. But other than that, 2 points, a draw, 7, 12, 12, 1. Pretty close round.
Yeah, mate. It was it was a good round of footy, wasn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, there was one golden point draw, and the other one went within 10 seconds of being a golden point draw as well. So it's been a long time since. Well, I think they said 2000 during the Raiders game was the last time that two teams got away with a draw in the same round after golden point. So that's pretty phenomenal to think about that. But the quality of footy again has been excellent. Realistically, outside of the two or three sides that we do know that they're struggling, anyone can beat anyone. And I think we agree that the Titans are probably struggling the most, and they nearly pulled off the upset of the year so far by knocking off the Raiders.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Let's start with the draw. What did you make of it? Manly, of course, got out to a really great start, and I think the key to winning over there, it's such a tough place to win. The crowd now is just so into it over there. Rugby league is thriving in New Zealand. You have to get off to a strong start. Manly did do that. I'll tell you what, the Kiwis were coming home with a wet sail, though.
Oh, for sure, mate. I think Manly were unreal the first half hour. And then finally the Warriors got themselves into the grind and were able to put some points on the board. The intercept just on half-time, obviously wasn't ideal. But I thought the second half was all the Warriors. I thought Manly did a good job to hang on as long as they did. And then, they score with, 70 seconds to go in the corner. And you think, yeah, okay, they're sweet here. And then all of a sudden, Johnson nails it from the sideline. And I don't know, I can probably cop the penalty from Aloiai. I'm not sold on it, but I can probably cop that. I can't believe he got suspended, though. That's ridiculous.
Crazy. Like I did think it was a penalty at the time. I'm happy for it to be a penalty. I've seen worse. Worse given penalties, but yeah, suspension's pretty crazy. I will say, I know it was a draw in the end, obviously no winner, but if you just judged the golden point period, I think the Warriors were really coming over the top of Manly, and I think Manly did well to actually escape with the draw there.
No, definitely, mate. I think you're right. Manly were just hanging on for dear life. I mean, they had injuries, and obviously there was starting to be some fatigue in the game. That's what brought Johnson back into it late. He was able to use his footwork. But I reckon before it all, if you said to Manly, we'll go over and play the Warriors in Auckland, and we get to bring a point home, they would have taken that.
Well, not only that, if you go back 2 weeks, they lost to the Dragons. Rubbish game by them, no doubt. Probably the worst game a few of them will play all year. And if you said to them, okay, over the next 2 weeks, you're going to beat Penrith and then you're going to take a draw against New Zealand, 100% they would have signed up for that.
Yeah, regardless. If you said, you're going to take three points home in the next fortnight, I think you're a lunatic. But they're playing some pretty good footy.
Warriors are going to be so hard to beat at home all year. They are, particularly over there. It's such a tough road trip. Probably one of the toughest now in the game.
It is. I think that there and the Raiders in Canberra in the middle of winter would be the two worst trips.
100%.
I just think it'd be, The crowd, though, it's awesome. It's bubbling over there, so it's great to see.
The signing of James Fisher-Harris, obviously the massive day. I don't think it'll change their side from now too dramatically because they've got Fanua Blake there now, who was elite in his own right. So they're just replacing him with James Fisher-Harris. But you get a captain for the next 4 years. You get someone who is not going to let you down off the field. And not saying that Adam Fanua Blake would either, but you just know you're getting someone who is the premium of the crop of forwards we've got in the game.
That's right. I mean, I think it'd be fair to say Fisher-Harris and Fanua Blake are 1 and 2, the best two props in the comp. That'd be a fair argument, wouldn't it?
Yep.
You argue one week, one's 1, the other one's 2, and then the next week they probably swap. but they are different styles of props. But again, the Warriors they're laughing here. They're probably thinking, how good's this? I can't believe that we've lost Fanua Blake and we're replacing him with Fisher Harris.
What do you make of the Storm so far? Right now, the Storm are sitting in second spot. They've got a points differential of 14. So they've got 4 wins with a plus minus of 14. I think the Dogs have improved dramatically defensively since last year. I don't think that's crazy to say. The addition of Nelson back is certainly a game changer for them. What do you make of them so far?
Oh, they're winning. That's about as positive as I can be, I think. I don't think they just don't look sharp. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but there's just something that's not quite as sharp as normal there. They're conceding a few more points than normal. I do think that around the ruck, Harry Grant's not in great form. Like, he's not playing bad, but he's not in great form. And again, that probably has a bit to do with the fact that they don't have a dominant. They've got a good forward pack, but they don't have a dominant forward pack. Look, they're being very Melbourne Storm at the moment. They're going to keep winning games. They'll win enough so that no matter what, with a month to go, they'll be in the fight for top 2. I think they're a lay down for top 4, but I don't know if they can win the comp. I'll eat my words. I don't know if they can win the comp.
How do you make an argument against Viliami Kikau is not the best back row in the game at the moment? He's on fire.
For the last fortnight he is, isn't he? He's been unreal. They're just giving him early pill and letting him go. And that's why Burton's playing so well now. He's not complicating it. It's either hit Kikau as quick as you can or throw a dummy and go yourself. And it's working for him.
The Connor Tracy to fullback, I think, has been massive improvement for the Dogs.
Yeah, for sure. He's a good footballer, Connor Tracy. He'll make a few errors, but he's full of energy, and he's got a bit more spark, I think, than Blake Taff. I do think though that they're still light on in the middle, and that's where the Dogs are going to struggle. But while they're playing the way they are, they're going to make life tough for everyone they play.
I'm sure you're happy that Parramatta got a win. It was set up beautifully for Parramatta. Afternoon game at home. They love playing in daytime football against a Cowboys team who really tough defending. So it was a get-right game for Parramatta.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was confidence. They needed the win. They have to go 50% until Moses gets back. If they don't, they can't make the final. So they needed the win, especially going into playing the Dolphins this week, which is a very winnable game. Like, Paris should beat the Dolphins. So then they're probably back on track and they're sitting a little bit better than what they were a couple of weeks ago. It was good. It was good to see. I thought Gutho was unreal, like he always is. Dylan Brown was good again. I mean, Dylan Brown's not good as far as a halfback good, but he's just a good footballer. He's excellent. And I thought Campbell Gillard and Junior Paulo were really good for Para as well.
We speak about the importance a lot of when a team loses key players, can they go 50% during that time? And the Roosters were able to get a really key win the other night against Newcastle at Newcastle. Roosters had a lot of players out, but I'm not giving up on the Roosters at all. I think that they are right there as far as premiership credentials go at the back end of the year.
Yeah, they've shown enough this year to I agree. They have shown enough this year to prove that they can mix it with the best sides, and they're going to be there, and they'll probably go deep into the semis. I don't know about the Knights. I think they're in trouble. Again, they're in the position they were in last year, and they went on a run. And any team that's got Callum Ponga in it can go on a run where they tear teams apart for 6 to 8 weeks. But I don't know. They can't keep making a habit of it, because what if he plays Origin this year? What if he gets a bump in the head again? There's no guarantee he's playing with his hip pointer. So, I think the Knights they're not going to make the 8.
It's really scary for Newcastle. Kalen Ponga's playing awesome.
Yeah, he is.
So it's not like you can say when Ponga fires, they'll come good. He's firing. He is playing unbelievably well.
Yeah, no, he is. He's playing excellent. And even when he obviously got needled up at half time and he could start running again, he was great the last 15, 20 when he got a bit of movement back. Um, yeah, no, he's good. He's good. And they've got a good forward pack. I think Cogger's good. I honestly believe they've got to bite the bullet and bring in Price. I've been saying it since our first pot of the year, and I think they'll see a big difference.
Who's your leader in the clubhouse for Queensland fullback?
Oh, well, based on this year so far, Ponga.
Have to be.
But I think they'll pick. I think they'll pick Walsh. And again, Walsh is awesome. He is.
Yeah.
It's not who I would pick. I'd go Ponga. But again, he did it last year. Didn't he? He played excellent for the first game, and he was good in the second as well. But then, yeah, I don't know. I think Ponga's better.
What are you most looking forward to this week?
Mate, it's going to be an interesting weekend because there were some teams that were really beaten up over the weekend, played big games, big golden point games. So, how Manly Warriors back up after that will be interesting to see. I think, Manly have got the Titans at the Gold Coast, so that's, a bit of travel for them. The Warriors, how they pull through that. And obviously, the Raiders have got a big test against Brisbane. I think last week was the off week for Raiders. They just weren't. The Titans made it gut for them. Like the Titans did a good job of making it scrappy, and there was a fair bit in the media about Hasler and Stewart having a dig at each other, and it was pretty obvious what Hasler did. He just basically go out and spoil, be offside, get in the ruck, put your hands in the ruck. They're not going to award penalties all day. So two things for me there. I think the Raiders have got their yuck game out of the way, so I think they can beat Brisbane. Because even, Brisbane playing against the Dolphins, who lost players left, right, and centre during that game, and there's 2 intercepts, and a scoop from what was it? A ricochet kick, wasn't it? With 3 of the tries.
Yeah.
So I think Canberra can get Brisbane because Canberra are a much better defensive side than what the Dolphins are. So I think that's one thing. And the one thing in Manly's favour was that Titans throwing everything they had to try and get a win, that first win last week. Are they going to be deflated or are they going to take confidence out of it and think, right, no, we're going all right here. We've proven we can match it. We're back. So I think that's going to be an interesting one.
I agree. I think Raiders can beat Brisbane this weekend. If this was in Canberra, this would have like 12-10 written all over it.
Yeah, for sure.
But the fact it's at Suncorp, there might be a few more points. The outside backs is the key matchup for me there. You got
both fast. Both teams are fast.
Yeah. So I'm pretty keen for that game, to be honest with you. And for a Saturday night, you don't really get cracking games that often.
A good game. Yeah, I know. It's interesting. But again, when they put Para Dolphins on Friday night, the late game, there was no guessing that Moses was going to be out and Dolphins were going to have a host of players out. So that probably would have been a cracking game if those injuries hadn't happened.
And the other one, I do think it's a bit of a danger game for Manly this weekend. I know I know on paper that Manly should win this and win it well. But the fact that back-to-back road games and none of those road games are in their state and they've got to go north to Queensland now. Des Hasler's old team. Des has lost 1,000 games in a row if you go back to his Manly days. So
I think is it 13, 12 or 13 straight now?
It's at least 12. It could be 13. Yeah. So lost 13 in a row. There's going to be some desperation there by Des, if no one else.
Oh, for sure, mate. I think we both will agree Titans are a bottom 4 side. They're not getting out of that bottom 4 this year.
Correct.
This weekend can really set Manly up for top 8 and be in that top 4 side that we think they can be fully fit. Because if they win this one, then they've got points in the bank. They've started to really tick up a few. I don't think they've got the toughest draw over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
No, they don't. They've got Parramatta.
Well, they should be without Moses. They seriously should. Because if Moses didn't play around the last time they played him, Manly probably win by 20. So, yeah, there's that. And then I think because then Manly seemed to go into a tough period again over the Origin game. So that'll be a big test for them. I was just having a look as well because it's an interesting one for the Roosters on Thursday night. Yes, they're sitting ninth and they've racked up a few wins. I think they'll beat Melbourne this week. But if they don't beat Melbourne this week, it's really starting to get it's getting a bit yuck for them, isn't it? Really, like when we think that they're a top four side, they're a legitimate. Wouldn't shock anyone if they were top two, and we think that they could go close to making the GF, and they're just not. They're making it hard for themselves. That's the same as Brisbane. If they lose again, Para. These are the teams that we think will be up the top of the table. If they lose again, things start to get a little bit tougher.
It's a great point. And just back to Manly, Manly have done a great job of winning the tough games. But when it comes to a game that they should win, they've been terrible. They lose to the Dragons.
Yeah.
The Dragons won. We'll look back on that at the end of the year and go, man, what the hell happened that week?
It was strange. But it's that type of one, though. Remember we spoke about it at the time. For whatever reason, they shit the bed when they go to Wollongong. They used to be the same when Dragons used to go to Canberra. Canberra were bottom four at the time and Dragons were flying. They'd go to Canberra and they just couldn't win. There's some bizarre things like that.
I know, but at the end of the year, if Manly finish fifth and the Dragons are at 14th, then we'll be looking at that game going, hey, guys. And it's the same with the Roosters. The Roosters have lost these games where, you got to bank some wins early. That's why it's very tough to see the Raiders missing the 8 from here because they've banked some wins early. So
they have.
They're not going
to Knights aren't banking wins.
That's right. So you're going to have to rely on these crazy runs.
Well, and mate, you said before, about games you look back on. Parramatta are going to look back on that game against the Tigers. I don't care what anyone says. The Tigers are the second, in the bottom 2 worst teams in the comp. They should never lose that game, and they did. It's going to be the type of game that could cost them at the end of the year, like you said, with the Manly Dragons one as well. It hurts the team, and that's the difference between teams finishing 5th or 6th or top 4, or teams finishing 9th or 10th or making the top 8. They're the little things. And that's why Melbourne will always be thereabouts, because they win those games. It's very rare that they, even when they're playing not great or they don't look as good as normal, they find a way to win.
Just finally, we touched on it last week. The news broke during last week's podcast about Josh Schuster and the fact that Manly has allowed him to look elsewhere. If you could handpick a situation for Schuster, where would you put him for his long-term success?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't think he'd last a fortnight in Melbourne. I'm not. I don't know. I really don't. I think it could be a case of he's a young man. He needs to mature a little bit and work out what he wants to do. Whether he really wants to knuckle down and be a footballer, or whether he doesn't. And either way, whatever he wants to do, it's best for him, I suppose. But I just find it hard. Like, I know that at the moment he's been provided every opportunity to get himself right, get himself fit, without having someone physically live with him and cook every meal and make him go running, which is almost what happens now anyway. I don't know. So,
just on that,
what do you think?
Just on that, there are some players who, and I'm sure that you've seen this all throughout your life as well in lower grades, who have the work ethic and determination of an absolute Trojan horse, but it's not talented enough.
Well, mate, look.
And there are some players who are extremely talented, and they don't have that other side of the game that you need to perform.
That's exactly right. And it's happened, mate. There's blokes playing reserve grade for brothers. I swear to God, one in particular who should have played NRL. Like, no, it's not even in question whether or not he could have, he should have, but he didn't. He didn't want to, and that was the decision he made a long time ago, that he would rather enjoy himself, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then there's guys, and I'm going to use Lachlan Hubner, and I'm not saying he doesn't have talent, because he's a very skillful guy. And I was lucky enough to coach Hubby in the Capras 20s a few years ago. And Hubby is a normal size human. He's actually borderline small, like not for a footballer, for an actual, he's not a big man in general. And pure will, determination, work ethic, ripping in, giving everything he's got every time he goes on the field, earned him a debut last weekend, and he should be the he should be the poster boy that every kid has on their wall. Like, it doesn't matter how big you are, it doesn't matter what you were blessed with physically. If you're prepared to work really hard, never give in, and put yourself out of your comfort zone, who knows what will happen.
Yeah, well said. I'm keen to see where it goes, though, because he is immensely talented, if nothing else. Seeves, thanks for your time. This has been another episode of the 60 Go podcast, and that is full time.